to Lisa's Dialogue. Joining me today is Michigan State Representative Padma Kuppa. Hi, Representative Kuppa. How are you?
I am so glad to be here with you, Lisa, on your show. It is so good to be here during the pandemic, seeing you face to face, because I miss you.
Yeah, thank you so much. First, could you introduce yourself to our audience and
Sure.
just give us an overview of what you have been working on during this pandemic?
Sure. First, let me give you a little bit of background about me. I'm Padma Kuppa. I live in the 41st House District. I live in Troy. I am the representative for Troy and Clawson, so all the people in Troy and Clawson. And I have been elected to office in November of 2018. I began serving in January. And I'm an engineer. So this is new to me, and I love taking people with me on this journey of what it means to be an elected official, what it means to be a state representative. And so I'm really excited to tell you that it's actually just about helping people. Being a representative means that you must help others, and that is what I've always done. And so what have I done in these last 2 months since the COVID crisis started? Well, first, just answering questions that people had about the executive orders, because there's a lot of information that the governor was providing, and there were a lot of executive orders where she told everybody to stay home. And so what does that actually mean? Then we had questions about who can go to work, who can't go to work, what is considered critical infrastructure, because she said critical infrastructure workers could go. And then people were wondering, how do you work from home? And so making sure that if they work from home, they had the resources, like how did they, and then what was happening with the schools, because they were shut down, and how are they providing online support? And what about the students who were getting resources at school? Some students do qualify, even in Troy and Clawson, they qualify for assistance during the middle of the day. They get lunch. And so how do we make sure that those students get lunch? What happened when the legislature had met in March, on March 17th? We provided $150 million in COVID response. And so the governor used some of that money to help with the hospitals, to make sure that the money was getting to the places that it needed, to make sure that if somebody said they needed PPE, where did they go? And so there's a website that I want your listeners all to know about. It's called michigan.gov/coronavirus. And michigan.gov coronavirus has information for people who are struggling with the health issues, people who are wanting to help those who are suffering. What are you if you're an employer? What are you doing if you need to get payroll protection? Because the federal government passed multiple stimulus package. It's called the CARES Act. There's 4 parts in the CARES Act so far, and they have provided money to the states and for different reasons. So one is obviously something called the Paycheck Protection Program. These are grants that are given to small business, because we know that small business is really struggling a lot. And so how do we help make sure that they can survive and come back stronger, because they may have to come back differently. Let's talk about Chinese or restaurants, right? Many of them do carry out, but they also have sit down locations. But you know what, when we reopen the economy, are we going to be able to sit down in a restaurant and go? No. The other thing that we've been talking about is the downtowns. You know, a lot of small business owners are in downtowns. There are places all across southeastern Michigan that have really nice downtowns where people go by walking. And so the businesses in those areas are affected. I have one in my own district called Clawson. So Clawson has a Main Street, and there are businesses all along Main Street. And so what are we doing? So we have a downtown business coalition. And so one of the things that we're doing is to create a listening tour. So on May 11th, which is Monday, not this coming Monday, but the Monday after, along with Representative Jim Ellison, who represents Royal Oak and Madison Heights, and Robert Wittenberg, who represents Ferndale and Oak Park and some other communities, and Representative Brenda Carter. We're going to do a listening tour of any small business that wants to join us. and let us know what is it that they need. What is it that they're struggling with? So that when we write policy so that we reopen, how do we reopen so that they can be successful? Because if businesses aren't successful, people aren't successful. If people aren't healthy, businesses don't have workers. So we've got to address the public health crisis on one side and the economic crisis on the other. So that's what we've been working on.
I know you are a big supporter of education. What do you see the problems or challenges we are facing for public education, particularly for K-12 during this unprecedented time? And what would be the best way forward in your opinion?
So there's three problems, right? The first problem is that this is a long time coming, that in Michigan, we have been underfunding public education. So when I came to Michigan, there was a per pupil allowance that was given to each district. So if you had 20,000 students, if you had 10,000 students, if you had 2,000 students, you got an X amount of money based on the number of students you had. That money, that per pupil allowance, has been going down every year, especially when you consider the rate of inflation. In fact, last year, the budget that we passed for public education was not even equal to the rise of inflation. So first, we need to look at how we are funding schools. The school aid formula, the school aid budget, was developed 25 years ago before the internet was really something. Today, we're asking teachers and students and parents to provide education for students online. Do you know that in many parts of our state, students don't have access to broadband? How are they going to get an education, an online teaching, if they don't have access to the internet? Second, I'm educated. I can teach I'm an engineer. I can help my children with calculus homework. Actually, my husband did that. I mostly focused on social studies and English because I went to school here. My parents lived here when I was growing up, and so I have, as you can tell, an American accent. And I had American public school education. So to me, I can help with these things that other parents cannot, right? So I think that's a second thing, is how do we help parents be able to help their children, especially because there are so many parents who are working from home. What can they do? So I actually held a town hall virtually with my colleague, Lori Stone. She is from Warren, and Lori Stone used to be a teacher. For many years, she taught in Warren Fitzgerald schools. So we had other teachers, other leaders from the Michigan Education Association and the American Federation of Teachers come talk to us about what we could do to help online education, like because we're switching so much online. Do you know that in places where they don't have great access to the internet, the school bus drivers and the support staff are still working so that they can create packets that they deliver to the students' houses because the students don't have access to internet. So the students are still getting information and are still able to access education, but the parents oftentimes needs to help. And so we need to help the parents. So that's the second thing. The third and most important thing right now that I see is children need socialization. They need to be with other children. And so a lot of teachers who have access, like in Troy and Clawson, they're doing activities online. And I think that's helpful. But someone recently shared with me, and I don't know if I've shared it with you, a 7-year-old student was online with her friends, and one of her classmates said, I don't like this virus. I hate the Chinese. I hate Chinese people because they brought the virus to us. That's horrible because nobody who's Chinese wanted anybody to get sick. And so a 7-year-old, a little girl, hearing that, how hurt she must have felt. And what can we do to help? And so helping parents cope, and especially helping these children, because they are living through, like you said, unprecedented times. And we need to make sure that we provide the resources, the care, the compassion for our Chinese American neighbors. And so in addition to these, I've recently, and I know you were on it, please share this with your viewers. They can watch the video online. We had a presentation by another Indian American. Her name is Sunita Dodamani. She's a lawyer. She is the head of the Hate Crimes Division under the Attorney General, Dana Nessel. And so we did a presentation on what you can do about hate crimes. Who do you go to? Like what crime, what constitutes, what is a crime? When is it considered a crime? Somebody spitting on you when you're walking down the street, that's unacceptable. Do you report that? How do you handle that? And so that particular hate crime training that we did online, the video is available for your viewers to go back and look at. I really want to make sure that people are empowered with knowledge, because knowledge is power.
Yeah, that video is already being shared, and with a very good response on that. Everybody is staying home. What is your advice to the families staying at home?
So I think the first thing is to make sure that you have the resources you need. So if you have unemployment issues, because a lot of companies are either laying people off or are furloughing people, that you know how to ask for help. So this is a problem that we share as Asian Americans. My mother always taught me, you can't change somebody else's actions, you can change your reactions. And so we have to remember that we pay taxes and that we should get engaged in government and find out what resources are available to us. So don't hesitate to apply for unemployment, because you pay taxes into unemployment and it is your right to get the unemployment. Second, I think if you need other kinds of help, please reach out. My office serves all of Troy and Clawson, but there are other representatives at the federal level and at the state level who can help you. So I know you had one question that you had asked me when we talked last on a phone call, and that was, what can we do for property owners? Because people aren't being asked to pay rent, and how can the property owners? I submitted that question to the governor's office. And so I want your viewers, I want everyone to submit their questions to the governor's office. And what's really nice, on michigan.gov/coronavirus, there's a little chat box. It says, Ask Robin. So you can go type into Robin your question. Now, I also know that there are many people in the community who want to help, because they see people are dying, people are struggling, people are going hungry. We don't want that. This is not how we be good neighbors. And I know that there are many organizations that are helping, but let's say there's a business owner that wants to help with PPE. Do you know that there's actually a list of resources that if you have them, you can go to michigan.gov/fightcovid19 and you will have ways that you can help, and you can go look those up. So michigan.gov/fightcovid19. And so I think that if you're in a position to give help, give help. If you're in a position that you need help, ask for help.
Speaking of help, donation of PPE, Chinese American communities is really have done tremendous work on that. Lots of PPEs being donated to the hospitals and the first responders and the first line workers. And your thoughts on that?
Yes, I think that that's something that we need to recognize. We need to be able to promote. This is another Asian issue, that we want to do work selflessly and we don't want to be politicize it. We don't want to promote ourselves. But I think it's really important that people who are in office recognize the work that you're doing. And I think that that's something that I can say, not only has Senator Chang, who I work with a lot in the legislature, but also myself and our governor. Our governor has recognized the value of Asian Americans in our community. She's recognized the holidays we celebrate, whether it's the Lunar New Year when we were all there at her residence, or Diwali, which is a holiday celebrated by many Indian Americans, or Ramadan. She really tries to reach out to the diversity in the state and make sure we recognize all of them. The other thing I want to recognize also is that there are many researchers who are Asian American. And only today I got a request to provide support, a letter of support, acknowledging the important work of some Asian American doctors who are looking at the violence and preventing violence from firearms, from carry and purchase of firearms. And so I want to also recognize that many of the people who are doing research on COVID-19 are Asian Americans, and that we need to make sure that we highlight their stories. So if you have a story that you want me to highlight, I'm happy to share that and make sure that you do press releases and that you have the organizations that are doing all the work, that they issue press releases so that they get the attention in the media. And I think that this is really important, having the information of where to do it and how to do it and who to reach out to.
You're absolutely right. And have those organizations or individuals be recognized is very important. I have a last question for you, is that we're getting into the month of May. May is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Any words on that?
Yes. So it is a wonderful month because we start to see May flowers bloom. It's also Mother's Day. It's also Small Business Awareness Month. But I think that it's really important to acknowledge the heritage that we come from and the heritage, the culture that Asian American and Pacific Islanders Americans bring to our state and to our country. And so I'm very proud myself as an Asian American. I mean, we say Indian American, but we are also India is part of Asia. So, you know, as a Asian American myself, I'm very proud to have this month. And I'll share with you a little story. Back in the day, in 2001, 2002, when there was a lot of bias against people who looked like me because of 9/11, I got involved in something in the city of Troy called the Ethnic Issues Advisory Board. And what we did was we brought people together of all different cultures. We brought Romanians, Taiwan, China, Japanese, Somali. We had people from all over the world who had immigrated to Troy, and we celebrated that diversity, because it is that diversity that gives us the ability to innovate and to be creative. And it's what is the fabric of America. It is very much a country that has had people from all over the world come and share who they are. And we celebrate through dance, through music, through food. And we should continue to do that. And I think that being part of our whole self, like our whole cultural identity, adds to the nationality that we are, which is we are Americans first and foremost. We have this culture and that this heritage, but it makes us that much more part of the American story. We come here. I came here with 2 suitcases and $250 in my pocket, and I now have a house. I've raised 2 children. I've had a job, and I'm a state representative. That is something amazing that we can do things like that. Somebody else is a great scientist, another great lawyer. We've got children of immigrants who are doing great things like Stephanie. So we really need to recognize that we contribute and to acknowledge our contribution and be proud of them and continue to engage as part, not only May, but all year round. We should engage and learn about what does it mean to be an American?
Thank you so much for your leadership and your advocacy. And we'll be continuing for this dialogue. Thank you, and stay safe.
Thank you, and you too. And if anyone wants to reach out to my office, my name is spelled Padma, Padma Kuppa, at house.mi.gov. And if they have a question that they can put in an email to me, I'm happy. If I'm not your representative, I'm happy to connect you to who your representative is. And please stay in touch. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For everyone watching, if you like our program, please subscribe. My name is Lisa Gray. Thank you for watching. See you next time.
怎么又晚了？
这诊所太远了，这里多开几间就好了。
政府里需要有我们的人，需求才会被听到。
哎，你这……
哎，你们两个都对，可光说有什么用呢？填好2020年的人口普查，就可以协助公共资金的分配，比如地方医疗、更多的政府席位。想要给自己发声啊，赶紧上网填，打电话也行。
请上2020census.gov 完成普查。